Yo, or should I say, hey up, Furrow Racing DP here, and today we're going to have a look at attacking the time trial. Although I will admit, I'm not very awake at the moment, but this game is just so addictive. I'm sure quite a few people are finding they wake up and think, shall I go to work today, or shall I just sit at home playing Project Cars? I can imagine quite a few sickies have been pulled since this game has been released. So, time trial. I've only done one attempt at a time trial so far, and that was in the Formula A's, and I found it a little bit frustrating really, because you can't edit the setup of your car, which I suppose in one way is pretty good, because it means that everyone's using exactly the same car. But in the other way, if you've got a car that initially isn't very nice to drive, but with a bit of setup is very nice to drive, it means that you can't use your own setup on it. So in that respect, it is a little bit frustrating. But we will go and have a look at time trial. What I'm probably going to do is do a few laps in a road car somewhere, and then do a few laps in a more powerful car, and then do another few laps in a more powerful car again. It could all depend on how it goes during the time trial, so we will just have to wait and see on that one. Also, I've not actually watched the intro of this game yet, so it might be worth actually looking at it. I don't know what it is about intros of games. I tend to just stick a game in and straight on to skipping the intro straight into the gameplay. Now, for those of you that haven't played the game, the usual question I've been asked is it worth buying? Should I get it? Yep, definitely worth buying, and you should definitely get it. Something sneaky you may want to do as well, if you've got a good friend or a brother or sister that is also perhaps interested in getting the game, have a look at doing a bit of game sharing, which means one of you buys it as a digital download, you share accounts on PlayStations, the other one downloads it, you get it for half the price. Bit sneaky, probably shouldn't tell you that, but I mean, 45 quid is a lot for a game. It's worth it, but if you can get it cheaper, that's worth it as well. Now, of the cars we're seeing on the screens, I have driven the LMP ones. I found them very nice, and with the camera angles, I actually found that I'm finding I like the in-car views where you helmet cam and all that, but some of the cars are brilliant to use on the in-car view where it's the camera in the middle of the car. It's called the passenger seat cam, I believe, which on some cars like these, or some of the LMP2s, the camera looks like it's hanging off the side of the car. But yeah, the in-car camera passenger seat view I find pretty good. So anyway, yeah, gonna have a look at doing the time trials. Like I say, I've only done one lap, and I've just realised I've come onto the PlayStation on the wrong account. No, I haven't. I thought I had, because time trial was locked, but it's not. It's not now, so we'll go into time trial. Now, I've been thinking about which track do I go and have a look at on time trial, and usually I would suggest going somewhere that you know. Now, there's one particular track I know quite well, but if I go there, then I'm pretty much doing the same thing on the videos all the time, and I don't really want to do that, although we may end up going there. Now, with time trial, you get to pick your track, and then you can pick your class of cars. And I say I'm going to start off in a not overly powerful car. I'm going to try and find a track that I won't mind using. Donington Park is where I would usually go. Spa's a little bit long. Barcelona's a tricky one. Chesterfield go-kart track, absolutely mental little go-kart track that as well. Brno, let's go there. Now we're not going to go in stock cars. I could go in a road cars, but I don't really fancy that. Touring cars I could do, but you know what? I'm going to go into GTs. Now obviously it looks like the Pagani Zonda is the top car to use here. It's a shame there isn't a list for, I mean, okay, it's the GT class, but it's a shame there isn't also a list for each separate car, because it means if I want to do well round here, then more than likely I'm going to have to use the Pagani Zonda R. I do know that's a bit of a beast. It's not really the car that I wanted to use, but I tell you what we'll do. I want to use the rough GT3, so I'll go and do a few laps in this, and then perhaps go and do a few laps in the Zonda R, and we'll have a look at what the difference is. Oh, nice. How can you have British Racing Green on a German car? That just doesn't make sense. I mean, okay, it's a British team, but it's a German car. That's just daft. Okay, I mean, I haven't looked through most of these liveries, but I'll have a quick. Oh, the Gentleman's Club 8. We all know what goes on in there. Find a. Ooh, I like that one. Right, okay, so we're going to go in the rough GT3. Like I say, you can't do anything with the setups, which, like I say, is a bit frustrating, but does make it equal across the board. Although it doesn't tell you on the time trial list what assists people may have been using. When it comes to the assist, there is 3 levels of assists. There's, we'll just get the right camera view that I want to use. Yeah, there's 3 levels of assists. You got real, which means if the car's got traction control, then you'll get traction control. Same with ABS. Stability control, which essentially stops you from spinning around. Or you can have it set to all, where you get to pick which assists you want on. So you can choose all and have the assist set to no, or you can have it where you just outright have none, which means regardless of the car, you're not going to have any assists. For this first lap or two, I'm just going to take a little bit easy, see what the car's handling like, get myself warmed up a bit. Because with not being able to put your own setups on, it is worth just finding out how the car is going to handle. I mean, I spent some time the other day in the Formula A around Donington Park, getting the handling, feeling quite nice, just how I like it. Oh, I couldn't see the corner then because of the sun. Yeah, got it handling lovely. And then went to do time trial, because I'm thinking, well, I saw the times, I thought, well, I was beating those lap times, so I'll go and do that easy. Then found out I had no setup on the car, and it handled horribly. I have noticed on the couple of time trials that I've done, it does seem to be at a similar time of day where the sun is right in your eyes for a few corners. It does make it quite tricky to see the road, but a racetrack never moves, so once you know where a corner is, where a braking point is, it shouldn't be a problem. The brakes on this are better than the last car I drove around here. will be interesting to see what lap times I can get in this car and then get in the Zonda, or same class of car. It's quite a nice turn one, this late apex on it though, so it's all about carrying the speed around that first part of the corner and then pinching the apex towards the end. Oh, miles away from that apex. I probably should have had a look at what lap times the Zonda R's were doing. I think it was in the 155s, I could be wrong. But obviously the whole list was full of Zonda R's, so this car's probably not going to trouble the timing screen. You've got to remember to brake early for that corner. Quite a tricky corner to see that with the sun where it is. I probably could push this car a lot harder on the brakes. I'm just trying to get into a rhythm of what the car's capable of. Now, I am running with no assist, so no traction control, no ABS, which does mean when it comes to braking you do have to be a little careful, because with most cars if you just whack the brakes on it does lock up the front end. Okay, this is the corner I kept missing, I think. No, it's around the corner. This corner I remember because in a car I drove around there yesterday, every time I slowed down to second gear for it, it just locked up the rears and spun out the rear end. Oh, washing out wide there. This is one I have been missing. Early on the brakes this time. Much nicer corner. Ooh, I thought I don't want to be in first there. Okay, this was the corner that I was finding difficult to see. Trying to spin out under braking there. I wouldn't say yet I'm anywhere near a decent lap. I am knocking time off every time I go round. And this is something I would advise to quite a few people. If you just jump on a track and try and go absolutely flat out everywhere straight away, it may not be the best thing for you. Build up to the track. Try and learn about the lines, getting the racing line right, and then you can look at trying to push it harder, push it faster. You'll soon find what the limit is. If you just go flat out everywhere, you've got to come the opposite way. You're going from the limit trying to slow it down around the track. I think it's better to do it the other way. Build yourself up around the track, go faster and faster. And basic psychology would suggest that if you're constantly improving on your lap times, it's going to make you feel better than if you're just going off absolutely everywhere all of the time and then feel like you're having to drive really slow to get a lap in. So I am now trying to push it a little bit more. I'm down on the lap time, but I'm trying to push it a little more, see what the car's going to do. A hard brake, a bit more aggressive on the downshifts. It is making me be offline, which means I can't get the power down as early as I would like. I think the tyres were still there. I'm turning in too soon for this corner, which means I'm making the apex tighter. I have to turn in a bit later there. It's cost me some time, that has. You'll notice on the timer screen I've actually got on in the top right corner. On the right hand side of it, the first set of numbers, on the very right hand side of it, the first set of numbers that's in red at the moment, that's a delta time. It's an exact time of how much you're up or down on your lap. Then under that is the sectors. Admittedly, when they're in red it's difficult to read, but if it's in the red, you know you're going slower, so that's all you really need to know. It appears to be a much smoother lap, proven by I'm now not in the red, I'm in the green. I'm much more on the racing line, can get the power down much earlier. I am short shifting quite a bit here, but I'm not too worried about that. Yep, the tyres are still there. Ended up down, but in one sector alone I gained 0.6 of a second just from being smooth and early on the power. I need to get that first corner nicer. It's costing me some time there, about half a second. I've noticed this game does sort of highlight what effect making a little mistake makes, but it can cost you a lot. I've picked this car because I do know that it handles very nicely. It's quite a nice car to drive. I'm going to lose it now. But yeah, it is a nice car to drive. Pretty much exactly what you would expect from a Porsche, well engineered. Although I've not driven it yet, but the rough road car is apparently quite a handful. We've gained a lot of time in the final sector then as well. So if I could gain the time that I'm losing in this first corner, I'd take about another second off the lap time, well, half second. I mean, I am up on this lap at the moment by a tenth, but that first corner was absolutely terrible. Okay, so this is lap 7. I'll do a maximum of 10. Otherwise I'll be sat driving this car around this track all day. A little bit sideways there. Now for these last 2 or 3 laps, I'm going to try and now really push the car. What you may see happen is, though, the harder I push, the slower we end up going. And we'll have to wait and see on that one. Come on, get turned in. So can't get the power on early enough. I'm not getting the line right through there. It is quite easy at times that you push harder. You make tiny mistakes which cost you time, but also there is that benefit of, if you get it right, you can gain a lot. Well, this is why I say build up to a track, because you can get an idea of the ideal line you really want to be on. And then you can work on just pushing it a lot harder and seeing what happens. Oh, it's going wide. That was close. Now maybe up just. We'll do a lap like that without those errors. Oh, nice later turn in. It's going to allow me to get onto the apex much earlier on the power. That's much better. Down to second a little too soon there, kicked the rear out. That sun made that corner very tricky to see. So it does look like the sun's setting a bit of thoughts into them tyres then. Golf keeping it in third gear for that corner this time. We'll try and do the same here, see if it helps with the lap time. Sometimes dropping it down the gears and thrashing the limiter isn't the quicker way. That's a good lap, this one. I said if I got it right, I'd knock about a second off. And there we go, 1.013 knocked off. I don't know whether this lap time is relevant, but I'm not really hunting best lap times. Excuse me. But I'm happy with that. 10 laps of building your way up, pushing the car a little bit, making a few mistakes, working out what you do and do not need to do, and then putting a decent lap in. Okay, let's go and see what the Zonda can do then. Actually, I don't want to restart the session, thank you. I'd like to exit. I'll probably find that didn't count my lap there now. But that was a 2:02 in that Porsche then, 2:02 lap time. So in the Zonda I wouldn't be surprised if we can beat the 2:02 on some of the cruising laps, although I haven't actually driven this car yet, so I have no idea what it drives like. I have seen other people driving it when I've been racing against them, and it did seem to be quite tail happy. Let's find a nice livery that I'm happy with. If you find the car does spin like this and you can't see it, hit square to look at the info and then come back, and you can go back into getting a semi-decent view of the cars. Okay, I can't say any of those really stood out to me then, so we'll go with this yellow and black one. Actually, I need to... So 155s. Okay, so quite a bit of time to find compared to the Porsche. We'll see what this does. I reckon this will probably beat the 2:02 in the early laps, because I think with this car it's going to be very powerful, very fast, but perhaps doesn't handle anywhere near as nice as that Porsche does. Which, okay, it's alright having that difference of handling to power, but if this is undrivable, then it's going to make things quite tricky. And I do know on games like GT, this car is an absolute animal. Okay, doesn't like second gear there. But yeah, this car is an absolute animal on other games. But again, this is where building yourself up to a lap will help. Because if you do just try pushing it absolutely flat out everywhere, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get annoyed. And you're going to think the car's crap. When in actual fact, it might actually be pretty good. You're just not driving it how it needs to be driven. Now dropping it down into second gear. I haven't got a lot of revs left when I'm doing that, so I'm seeing that I'm probably going to have to leave this in third gear for some of the corners. It's not as good on the brakes as the Porsche. Yeah, I might have to leave it in third gear for some of the corners I was taking in second in the Porsche. I mean, I have noticed at times quite a few people prefer to whack it down the gears and have it at the high end of the rev range. But I would say it's not always the faster way. Sometimes just holding it in a gear with what sounds like low, slow revs could actually be quicker. The brakes are not that great in this car. I've not got a lot of confidence in them yet, but that's where building up to it is going to come from. Yeah. Go anywhere near full brakes and I can hear it trying to lock up. The steering's not fantastic on it either. I may be able to compensate that with the rear. The first lap is a 2:01, so I was right. In the warm-up laps, this Zonda has just beaten that Porsche, and as you saw, it was nowhere near a clean lap or a good lap. So now I'm just going to try and focus on getting the racing line right. I'm missing the apexes here, trying to keep it in third gear, so I may have to just give it more brakes or actually drop it down the extra gear. Ooh, extra dab of brake then, and just pinch the nose in, but the rear wanted to step out. Front end on this car is not very precise. I have to give it more steering lock, but doing that could get the rear end out more. This is a totally different animal to that Porsche. The Porsche was precise. It was smooth. Whoa! And didn't do any of that. I just haven't got the confidence to yet to go flat out around that corner. It may come. We'll see what happens as we go through these laps. Come on, I'm trying to turn it in and it just doesn't want to go towards that apex. It's not going to make that corner. Okay, we are. It really does not like turning this car. I don't usually have a problem steering from the rear. Cars like this do sometimes prefer it as long as it's controllable. But this is where building up to your lap is going to help, because if you do get sideways you may be able to find out what you're going to need to do to actually get it to go round the corner rather than off the track with your throttle control. But if you're just too aggressive off the bat, you're not going to have a chance to learn that. It's just going to spin on you. Big lock up then. Okay, come on, get it turned in. Power on. I'm trying. This car is not that nice to drive. Well, actually, it's not that bad, but the front end, there's just nothing there. It's not like in transition from second up to third gear at full throttle. Its brakes are not great either. Now this is where, if it was in free practice mode or some career mode, multiplayer online, I'd be jumping into the pits, putting some more camber on the front end, reducing the brake pressure to about 80% so I could be more aggressive on the brakes without it actually locking up. I'm having to put a lot of steering lock on this compared to the Porsche. It really does not like the brakes. Okay, getting a little bit more confident with the throttle pedal now. Just need to get some confidence in that front end. Come on, turn in, there we go. Need more brakes in there. Oh. Come on, turn. Come on, get round. That was a bit too close for my liking. Ooh, slide on. Oh, that lockup's cost me. That could ruin this lap. I'll not take temps off, need to knock some more off to get onto that first page on the timing leaderboard. We're still 3 seconds off top. Felt a better exit then. I'm not up on my sector, well, on my delta. I'll try going more aggressive on the brakes on this lap, seeing as I'm already down. Oh, it's going straight on. Come on. Oh no, that's not worked. I think with this car it could be a case of be prepared to perhaps brake early. I mean, it's definitely a lot faster than that Porsche was. So you are going to have to take that into consideration when you're driving this car. Try and go harder on the brakes, and it is just locking those fronts. I have the telemetry on for this lap, so you can see what breakage I am using. Come on, get around, tuck in, it's not tuck it in. I may just have to boot it round that corner anyway. It's quite interesting as I'm driving around. I mean, this is a bad lap. That's because I'm more looking at the amounts of brake pressure I'm using. And when I'm getting off the brakes towards the corner, I was about to say it's tempting to put more brakes on, but when I do, that happens. Right, let's see if those tyres are overheated. Right, front has come in. It's interesting that it is showing the brakes as being cold. So I don't know whether perhaps a few laps of being much more aggressive on the brakes and getting the temperature up more would help with the braking. Now this corner's one that's been tricking me, and it's because of the uphill before the corner. I think as you get over the crest, car's going light, and that's what's causing the lock-up. Okay, booting it doesn't work, it just washed out wide. Missed that corner. Alright, let's take that off and put my normal screen back on. Okay, so we're on lap 8. And we won't do more than 10. So we've got 2 more laps then. Try and improve on that lap time. Brakes are biting. I'll try lifting off here, I reckon. Braking over the crest, that's not worked. We may need a bit of brakes before the crest and then more after it. Come on, tuck in, tuck in. Going deep. Half a second down on the lap. Excuse me. Oh, it does not like third gear around that corner. Braking before the hill, lifting off the brakes and then braking after it did help. I've lost time there. Such a tricky car around that corner, it just does not want to turn in. I carried the brakes too much. Oh, we've messed that up again. Well, that's that lap over. So trying too hard there. Well, I reckon with say another 10-15 laps I could knock a good, I reckon, second off that lap there, because none of them was a particularly brilliant lap. Okay, so now we're going to jump in a different car on a different track. But that's definitely a car where, for the time trial, I wish you could put your own setup on, because 2 tiny little tweaks of that car and it'd be so much better to drive. Okay, let's think of a track to go and have a drive round. I really am tempted to say the Formula A round Donington, but I'm going to try and avoid that for the moment. Okay, let's have a look through these racetracks then. Bathurst. I do like Bathurst. It's a long ass bloody track. Zolder. It's an interesting one, that. Suzuka on it, obviously not called Suzuka, but that is also an interesting track. Somerton Sprint, never heard of that. What's up? Not going there. Snetterton, not been a big fan of Snetterton so far. Okay, Silverstone. Okay, we've just been in the touring class. Ooh, no, it was GT class, wasn't it? Okay, touring cars. Oh. Well, let's go with a prototype, shall we? Okay, now this car I do know does not like curbs. Having driven it at Monza yesterday, it is a beast when it comes to the curbs. We're going to take this around Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and on this track there is a nasty ass bump in between turns 1 and 2, which I can't say I've ever really noticed before, probably because it's not on any other games, but on this one it's definitely there, so I've no idea what this car will handle like going around that corner. But again, that's why I say don't just jump in a car, jump on a track, try and go absolutely flat out everywhere. It's not always going to be the best thing for you. As I said, basic psychology says if you can build yourself up and go quicker and quicker and quicker, that's better than trying to go really fast, ending up facing the wrong way in the gravel and thinking that the car or track is crap. Now with this car, I had mentioned about this view being good. I do like this view because these cars, they are quite tricky to see what the driver's doing from this view. Well, not necessarily see what the driver's doing, but to see all the road because of the size of the wheel arches. But I do like this view. Ooh, it's a bit twitchy on the brakes. I do love the noise this car makes. Bit of a corner cut there, but this time I'm just trying to see what the levels of grip are like, and so far it doesn't feel too bad, which means it's probably going to bite me somewhere. Okay, I'm going to try this flat out because you've got to at least try it. Okay, I ain't going to do it flat out. Not a great line there, but we can work on that. Getting yourself a rhythm through Maggots and Beckett's there makes all the difference. Same with this corner, you want to power around this corner if you can, but that all depends on your braking point and your turning in. Ooh, tried heavy braking there. It was alright initially, and then just wanted to lock up. Now you may think that I am really pushing this car at the moment, I'm not. There's the bump. Oh, it's so slow and low revs in second gear, so probably going to have to use first around turns 3 and 4. Heading up to Brooklands, tricky corner because it always makes you feel like you can go faster around it, but you really need to make sure you get tucked in for the apex there. Oh, we ran wide, but it's going to give us a tight apex. Whoa! Got a bit out of balance then. Okay, you don't need to go down 2 gears, so next time round we'll just go down to 1. Bit of a wiggle mid-corner then. Now, he's taking quite a lot of concentration, this car. You don't want to be too aggressive on the brakes. Now, I've been waiting for those little kicks of oversteer. I mean, this car's got a lot of grip, but every now and again, if you're just not quite right, oh, that's a corner cut. Yeah, if you're not quite right, you are gonna get a big snap of oversteer. I'm going to try and take this deep into this corner. Yeah, didn't do too bad there. We can refine that a bit. Oh, way too deep there. Because this lap had already gone on the first lap. These are the times where you want to go, right, okay, let's really push it. The lap's gone anyway. Let's see what the limits are. Ran wide, but I was bouncing off the limiter. I may be able to do it in whichever gear it is I'm approaching that corner in. And just give it a little bit of brake. That's going wide. But yeah, I mean, if your lap's gone, it's worth testing the limits. It's better to test the limits on a lap that's already gone rather than when you're up on a lap. Need to avoid that curb, stopping me getting on the power. Too much curb, come on, keep going. Too late on the brakes. Oh, we'll mess that one up. I will admit, I mean, I do like this view. It's not necessarily the easiest view to drive on. Nowhere near the apex, but at least we stayed on the road that time. Nice and few maggots and brackets then. Avoid this curb. That's better. Okay, brake earlier. Oh, turning in way too soon then. Woohoo! Come on! Okay, that's probably the lap gone, but I enjoyed that. Oh, come on, get round, go, go, go. Okay, come on, Dave, get this right. Nope. Need to turn in a little sooner, more aggressively there. I got that all wrong, gonna go wide. You may have noticed I knew I was going wide then, and that's all from having a rhythm through those corners. Then you know if you're off that rhythm, you're going to be going off, and you can react to it. Oh, missed the apex. I've had to lift off to keep it on the road. Still nowhere near the apex. Come on, Dave, you can do better than that. I need to work out a turning in point visually for me there. Alright, don't get too greedy. Don't get too greedy. That was greedy. We're still going. Come on, get in, get in. Oh no, that's that gone. You swine. Still up on the lap, so if I can actually get this corner right. Better. Much better. Tried a different rhythm through there, and that's why you shouldn't do it when you're on a lap when you're up. Oh, well that's this next lap gone. Tried going into second gear early then, just to see if it would help. The answer is no. Well, seeing as this lap's gone, I may try that new rhythm through Maggots and Beckett's. I'm not sure it'll work, but it's always worth trying different ways. And by rhythm I mean because of the nature of those corners, you've got to get it slowed down at some point to get the best exit. And it's not ideal really, I don't believe, to try going absolutely flat out through the first two parts. What I tend to do is I get past the left curb, the first left apex, and then go down a gear in between the corners, although there is one of them where I tend to go down two. This lap has definitely gone now. Okay, let's calm it down. I'm struggling doing it that way, so I'm going to have to do it the way I was earlier on. Just makes the car more balanced and get it in the right place. Oh, she's sliding. I was busy looking at the timing then, see how much I gained or lost. I gained a lot. See, this rhythm just works so much better for me. Down one, after the first left curb, down two, just lets me position the car for the final part. Not that curve again. Survived it though, just squirming. There's a second off the lap time. Bloody hell, I'm happy with that. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure that 144s was what was on the top times. But I'm not going to try and beat that. I was surprised at that lap time. But this car, it handles beautifully. It's a lovely, lovely car to drive. Compare that to the Zonda a moment ago. Having driven that car then, there isn't really anything that I would actually change to that setup. But there we go. I like that car. Gonna have a look at the timing screen now. Probably find that they were in like the 40s or something like that. But I'm fairly sure I saw 144s at the top of the list. No, it wasn't 144s, although I will be on the list because if you look at 9th place, so 144.7, I got a 144.9. So Speed Queen, I'm afraid you're going down a little bit. That sounds a bit dodgy. That does. I'm going to end that one there. Okay, so still got 2 seconds to find to get anywhere near the top. Well, if I think about it, if I go through the corners, turns 1 and 2, maybe a little speed there. Turns 3 and 4, there's definitely some time in there. Turn 5, Brooklands, there's definitely some time in there. And turn 6, the old last corner, there's definitely some time in there. The old first corner, I'd say there's definitely a bit in there as well. Maggots and Beckett's, I felt I took that quite sweet. I don't know if there's much time left in there. And then in the last sector, there would be a little bit. 2 seconds, maybe. I mean, obviously they've done 2 seconds faster than I have. Could I do it? I don't know, possibly, but it would take time and practice. I mean, obviously I've only done 10 laps there. Okay, and just check what their time is, because it's 6:30, because we've got a front row racing open race night for an assist race on F1 2014 on the PS3, which I'm going to go and join in on in just over half an hour's time. So for my last run, I am going to go to Donington Park, and I am going to go in the Formula A. I'm going to go to the GP circuit, and helps if I pick the right type of car. Now they're in the 108s. Oh, I'm already on the list in 13th place, unlucky for some. So I've already done a 110.8, but I know I wasn't overly pleased with that. The car was not handling anything like I would expect. So I'm going to go and do 10 laps, probably end up being more. I'm going to go and do 10 laps and see if I can improve on my lap time there. I'm just quickly going to screenshot this though and go, woohoo, look at me, I'm on the list. But then it is Donington. If it was Monaco, I wouldn't even appear. But I mean, I love Monaco, but Jesus, these Formula A's are tricky round there. Okay, where's the Formula A? Up, there we go. Alright, let's go and find us a nice livery. I'm quite pleased that I'm already on the list. I must admit, that LMP1, it drives so nice. There is so much grip, and as you may have seen, I mean, I did get one big drift on at one point, and I was able to keep hold of it, where there's other cars that if that was to happen, you got no chance, you're spinning around, and this is one of them really. I am finding that in this car, second gear is a bit tricky, and Kev187, who has commented, he would agree with that. It is a bit of a weird car. I mean, like I say though, I did take this round Donington, put my own setup on it, and it was absolutely beautiful. Okay, come on, let's find a nice. We'll go with that one. Yeah, I had it set up beautiful around this circuit, and then when I came to do this time trial, I found it so tricky. I think I did about 8-9 laps, and only one of them was allowed. Now, usually I would drive this car on helmet cam, and I am going to give it a go. I'm going to try, because I do like to use helmet cam on the open wheelers, and you can adjust how much helmet movement you do actually get. Like if I hit the brakes, that's odd, his helmet's not moving. I wonder if it's reverted those settings then. It looks like it has. Yeah, you can adjust how much. I'll tell you what, I'll show you. It's going to take me straight back onto track, isn't it? Right, I'm going to have to exit. You can adjust how much helmet movement you get, and it's very handy, especially in the open wheelers, because when you're going around a corner and your hand is sort of like in the middle of your eye line, it makes it very difficult to see corners, see cars ahead. But if you adjust the helmet cam settings, your driver's head tilts. Yes, your driver's head tilts. Okay, you've got world movement, so I'm going to put that on max. G-force effects is on max. Show helmet depth of field. Yes, I'm guessing that's the blurriness. Helmet look to apex. Camera leaning, there we go, I want that one on please. It probably means I ain't going to be able to drive it now, but it does make a big difference of how the camera reacts, and you should see it. If I hit the brakes hard, it will look like he's headbutting the steering wheel. It does make it look more realistic, and like I say, it is easier when you're going around the corners, because as you'll see, the hands do get in the way. I am a person, I do like to drive nice and close to the car ahead, and on helmet cam, not that easy to do. I have nerfed a few people off track trying to drive close to them. You see a lot of helmet movement there. He's tilted his head towards the corner, which does make it a hell of a lot easier to see around the corner. Now I'm not using KERS or DRS yet, because I just want to warm myself up to how the car's going to handle, because it is very different to the LMP. And there is nowhere near as much grip as I've got on my own set around here. I think the base setup for this car, if you go into free practice mode, the base aerodynamics, it's on 8.8. Well, I took it down to 1.1 just to see what it was like, and it was very fast. It was good in the high-speed corners, but when it came to all of the other corners, the car was uncontrollable. So I ended up taking it up to 4.4, lowered the ride height, adjusted the front camber, and it was absolutely spot on. Now I'd say with this car, I don't think it's running 8.8 aeros. Well, it could be. Maybe I just didn't. No, it's not. I mean, this is a car. It is very tricky to drive. And this car is a prime example of warm yourself up to a track, I can tell it either hasn't got a lot of aeros on it, or the mechanical grip just isn't there. I mean, through the chicane, I find that to be quite a quick corner, but I'm struggling on initial turn in, which is making it harder to take the corner faster. I'm going to try and use DRS down here. It means you've got to be so careful on the amount of steering you use. Too much steering and you're going to spin it. Whoa. And that's what happens if you initiate second gear. Oh, damage is on. Right, okay. Well, there's no point continuing those laps on. Damage is on. Come on, turn around the corner. and try building up to going a bit quicker. One I have noticed in this car as well, I do think it brakes better if you manually close the DRS rather than letting the brake pedal close it for you. Within that moment of you hitting the brake, it closing the wing just unsettles the car. It's going to get tricky down here. I may have to close DRS. No, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to open it again. Oh, not if I go wide though. Closing the DRS myself, I could be much braver on the brakes into that chicane. Now you can use DRS absolutely everywhere. I'm not doing it on some of these laps, so I'm just building it up on each corner, trying to maximise the line, amount of steering angle required, amount of throttle input I can use. That's wide, I'm gonna have to wait. Oh no, no, no. Now I could have turned more there, but keeping the DRS open means that there's that fear of if I turn a bit more, it's just gonna spin. Whoa, that's a spin I'm not expecting. Or a slide, should I say. The front end really just is not there on this car. It's like it's set up with understeer. Me personally, I don't like F1 cars with understeer. I prefer them to be much more pointy. I want the front end to go where I tell it to. Oh, too late on the brakes. See, the front end is just not enough grip in there for me. Front is just sliding through that corner. Yeah, this is what I mean about this car being quite tricky to drive on time trial. I think I've got some damage on the car because I've got some vibration through the wheel. I'd be surprised if I've damaged the car when I've not hit anything, but there you go. Yeah, there's definitely damage on the car. Right, I'm going to try going very aggressive down here with the DRS open, just to show what happens. And there you go. And that was literally... That was only a tiny little bit more steering than what I was previously using. So if you're going to try going DRS open everywhere, be very, very careful. Well, that's my first completed lap of this session, but it's not faster than my previous best, I don't think. Come on, keep going. Oh, that was lucky. That slide happened then. I got too eager, went too deep on the brakes, which meant I had to be very aggressive on the brakes, and it didn't work. And that then was not manually closing the DRS, unbalancing the car in the braking zone. Get in, that's a nice corner. Ah, no. Get off the grass. That's better. Should be able to really throw the car through that chicane. Slow, or at least it felt slow. Oh, damn it. I was up on my lap, but not on my best, I don't think. The thing is, like, as soon as that's happening there, I now know what it is. I'm not braking enough. So when I come to turn, I'm going too quick. And the aerodynamics, the mechanical grip just can't handle it. I think a few people could find time trial on this very frustrating, but at least it doesn't do what it does on games like GT, where if you go off the track slightly, that's it. You gotta fucking restart the lap again. Oh, we're well wide. I think the tyres are still dirty. Oh, that's not going to help. So much more aggressive on the brakes then. No slide. No, come on, keep going, keep going. Too much curb, and that'll be damage. You pain in the backside. Thing is, I think what I might do actually, let's do a couple more laps on this, and then I'm going to finish up with a couple of laps in free practice around here in this car. It's got my own setup on, just so that you can see how different it handles. And for those people that have wondered why sometimes when you go off track it just says this lap invalidated, and sometimes this lap and next lap validated. Oh, no, 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 no. Well, there is a couple of simple reasons for that. One is, if you cut a corner or go off track in the last corner, it'll do it then. I've got damage on the bloody car again now. Yeah, if you go off track at the last corner, it'll invalidate this and next lap. But also, what I noticed last night was, I think it depends, because people are saying that it happens to them in sectors 1 and 2, that it invalidates next lap. I think it's how much you cut certain corners. So if you're really taking the piss, even if it's an accident, if the game thinks you're taking a piss, it will invalidate this and next lap. Too much steering. Whoa! It did not like going to first then. Okay, the lap coming up will be the last lap. I'm going to do on time trial here. Twitchy then. Damn it. I was a second up. So if it lets me, I'm going to keep going. I'm not a second up now. Damn it. Right. Okay, so the very last thing I am going to do is just show you what it handles like with my own setup, because I've only got about 15 minutes until I need to go off. Probably bloody just my luck though. I'll go into free practice and I'll drive it even worse. Okay, I need to go up the list. Okay. I will quickly show you exactly what it was that I did change on here. Like I say, it was only 2 or 3 things. Okay, so I went into setup. I've dropped the brake pressure to 85. As standard, it was on 100. But I found it just kept locking up the front tyres whenever I just gently touched the brakes. I'm running no ABS. Obviously you can alter brake ducts. I've not played about with that yet. I've not really had the time. But brake pressure I did find helped massively. Front downforce, like I say, it started on 8.0 and so did the rear. I moved it down to 4.0. I did go lower and came back up to 4.0 and felt it handled just about okay. Probably be a little better higher up, but 4.0 is doable. And then the cambers, it was front camber, it was on 2.4 on the front and I changed it to 3.4. And then what else did I do? Ride height. Front ride height is on 35mm. It was actually on 45mm and the rears was on 65. I dropped those down because around here I wouldn't say I like to hear it, but obviously you want the car quite low to the ground, gives you more grip, but you need to be able to handle the bumps. Round here, usually what that means is when you go through the old hairpin, coming out of the exit, you may hear the car bottom out on the exit curb. In these, it wasn't anywhere close, so I dropped both ride heights. I'm still not bottoming out there though, so I probably could go a little lower, but I saved this setup to all of my tracks because it felt so good that I decided not to take it lower because it could screw me over at other circuits. Okay, so we'll try and just do a couple of laps. Like I say, I haven't got long left in time. It is going to take a couple of laps to get the tyres up to temperature though. No, it's not, they're already green. That's handy. But I did find with this setup, because you may think, well, you're struggling a bit with the like turning too much in time trial, that I may struggle more here. No, I found not, because I don't have to steer as much and get a better amount of steering. The grip tends to be there as well. But like I say, now that I've said all that, this is probably going to go to crap. And there you go. I'll just move that sign. I didn't like where it was anyway. Now, by reducing the brake pressure, it has helped to stop the car from locking up, but it does mean you have to be very careful of braking late, because obviously the brakes aren't applying as much pressure, so it can take that little bit longer to get stopped. It's much better through that chicane. Oh, could do without you doing that. But even with that big wiggle then, that's already matched what I have just done in time trial. That right left-hander is so much easier to do. The old hairpin, the grip is just there. Get away with it. Too aggressive there. But overall the car is just handling so much nicer. There's so much more a feel of grip. Driving there. That may not look like it's handling better, but it is. So, probably is secretly. And I'm making too many mistakes. At least with this setup, I know when it's me making a mistake rather than the car just not having the grip to do what I want it to do. Oh, I opened DRS instead of closing DRS. But there we go. So the car does handle better even if I can't drive it better at this moment in time. But anyway, time for me to end this live feed, as I've got to, well, I haven't got to, but I am going to go and join in with the Front Row Racing F1 2014 Assists Allowed lobby this evening. Driving around Sochi. We had the no assist last night, and it was quite an interesting race. I had a good battle, as most of the other drivers did. I do want to just quickly go back to Silverstone, not go back, but just have a look at the times, just to see if it has put my time on there now. And the prototypes, yep, there it is in 10th place. So not bad. Still some time to find, so we may have to have another go at that at some point. So anyway, like I say, time for the live feed to end. So if you have been watching, thanks for watching. Feel free to follow the Twitch channel, or check out the Front Row Racing Facebook page, or even my own personal YouTube channel. And the videos, the live streams that I do on here, I will put onto YouTube, although it does only allow a maximum of a 2-hour video limit. So anyway, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.